Hello guys, I welcome you all in this module of basic engineering mechanics. In this module we'll be getting to know about some scalar quantities, their examples, some vector quantities, their examples. Then we'll get to know about the concept of the force, what force is, what force really is, and we'll try to label the force and completely try to describe the characteristic of the force. Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, what is a scalar quantity? So scalar quantity, just like it has a value only. It just has a value, just like a mass. Mass is in kg, does not have an associated direction with it. So just the examples of the scalar quantities are like volume, which is represented as kilogram per meter cube, time, times in seconds. These are all the only values. These are not showing a direction, like temperature, and it can be expressed in degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit or in Kelvin, but they don't possess a specific direction, you can say. So these kind of quantities are scalar quantities. If I talk about the speed is the most important, because people are very often confused with the term speed and velocity. So when I say there is a wagon which is moving in direction, okay, we won't talk about direction this time, which is moving in a particular direction with a speed of 3 meters per second. So we did not assign a particular direction to this thing. So this is the magnitude of the velocity. Okay, so what we call it, speed is the magnitude of the velocity. We'll be getting to know about the velocity in the next slide, but for now just remember that speed is only magnitude of the velocity and it does not have any associated direction with it. Okay, so now we'll try to explain what are vector quantities, and we'll try to write some example of the vector quantities. So vector quantities, just like scalar quantities, has a magnitude, but along with that it has a separate direction, a particular direction also. Like force, will be definitely working on force in this module, moment, acceleration, and velocity. So now we suppose make a Cartesian coordinate system which is in x and y. Okay, now there is a cart which is moving with the speed of 3 meters per second in the x direction. So now we have two things. We have the speed of the cart, that is the magnitude, and we have the direction, that this 3 meters per second is in x direction. In y direction it might be same, it might be different. So that is a difference between speed and velocity. Velocity and speed are almost same thing, but velocity is in particular direction and speed is only the magnitude of the velocity. Okay, so now we'll try to explain what is the force. So force is basically the push or a pull on a body. So suppose there is a body which is on a table, and we apply a force in a push force, and we are pushing the body of mass m, or we apply a pull force, we are trying to pull the body with a separate force f. Okay, so in this, just remember this thing, we are not considering what is happening inside the body, because in engineering mechanics we never work on the deformation of the body. We always take rigid bodies in considerations. So what is happening inside the body is none of our business for now, because in engineering mechanics we always deal with rigid bodies, and rigid body does not deform over time. So it's if we push or pull on a body, the result, the outcome is a force, and as we already discussed, the force is a vector quantity. So I hope this is clear for all of you. So now if we have to define how to describe a force, so suppose there is a golf ball. Okay, now often when we hit the golf ball with a stick, generally the range of the impact force is around 8 to 10 kilonewtons, and I generally wrote 8 kilonewtons for now. So how will we define this thing? Suppose this is our coordinate system, okay, x and y. So we will say the force on the ball is 8 kilonewton to the right, 8 kilonewton to the right, or we can explain that thing as the force on the ball is 8 kilonewton in I direction. I is a symbolic representation of, is a unit vector in x direction. Okay, so these are the two ways where we how we can define what the force is. Now the most important part is you always have to put the units after you put the value and the direction. Like the force has a magnitude, okay, force has a magnitude, suppose 8, then direction you said I, okay. Now this has to be associated with the international system of units, which is the newtons. So this is 8I in newtons, okay. So I hope this thing is clear to all of you. Thank you.